able to build a wallet with you guys. This is streamed live, so it's gonna be what it is. First time on YouTube streaming, so I hope you forgive me. I'm not a professional at this yet, and I'm looking to up my game here at Little King Good. So we're gonna be making a V9 wallet. I'm really excited to do this, so let's get started. Right now, I have my pieces already cut out. As you can see, I have to do a few things to them before I can start this build. So why don't we head over to the skiver, and I'm gonna start skiving these things down to thin out the pockets and make sure that when we stack them, they aren't super crazy thick. So let's go do that. Let's turn this thing on, get this thing started. I think it's already at the right thickness. So let's go. Bell skiver is one of those things, those machines that I think people don't really appreciate the value of and might not want to necessarily invest in one right away. But this has been one of my favorite machines ever because it's so useful. It's so quick, very accurate, and it really helps with thinning out those pockets. If you don't have a bell skiver, a French edger works just as well. Just need a little bit more elbow grease with a French edger and a little bit more patience, probably. Here we go on the last pocket of the 4 T pockets. And we got to skive one more of these guys. This is for the top part of the wallet. For the outer pocket, I'm gonna skive it a little bit more. You'll see what I'm talking about after it's all said and done. Sweet. Now that that's done, go back to our workstation and start putting it all together. The first thing I typically do when I do a wallet like this is I bevel all of the inside edges. This is an inside edge because this is not going to be taken trim allowance from. I'm using a number 1 edge beveler at the moment. The number 1 I find to be really good for thin pieces. This is a 3 to 4 ounce. More specifically, it's 1.4 millimeters thick, this leather. And I'm using a Minerva, Badalassi Minerva in the Noche color. I think it's a really beautiful color. Works really well. All right. Got those 4 pockets done. Now we're going to do a 5th pocket. And a 6th pocket. Beautiful. Now that those are all finished up, I'm going to add some toconol to the edges to slick them up, make them nice and shiny. This is one of my favorite things right now for this, is this glue marker or graffiti marker that I put watered down toconol in. And it's a 2-to-1 ratio for toconol, 2 parts water, 1 part toconol. And it just does an incredible job. So I'm going to start slicking that down with a slicker here and just burnishing or slicking these edges down. You know you got a good burnish when you hear those little clicky sounds like. So there's one. And as I'm doing that, actually, I am going to quickly turn on my heat stamper, get that settled at 150 degrees Celsius so that we can stamp this pocket. And now finish up the rest of these little pockets here as we finish this section. So these are T-slot pockets. So T-slot pockets are really helpful when you're layering pockets on top of each other. And I like to use T-slots. Some people like to not use T-slots and use the whole pocket, but I just find it works best for my use case scenario. A lot of little pockets in this guy. Typical bifolds, there are quite a few pockets. All right. Getting through these T-slots. Ooh, my stomach is rumbling. Just learning with this live stream how to position my hands properly, make sure I'm in the frame. All right, well, that is done. I am going to now start putting together. I have a little jig that I made up to position my pockets properly. So I'm just gonna grab that out of here. And this is it. It's a little acrylic piece that I use to position the pockets on the interior pocket of the wallet. So I like to go like this. And now we'll mark where all the flaps of the pocket go. Making little jigs like this really just speeds up the process. So you can see that this is where the T-slot pockets will start to line up. It really helps with speed. All right, there's one. And now we will do the second one. Perfect. Okay. Has my heat stamper heated up yet? Not quite yet. Okay. Now I'm just gonna start roughing up the edges here for the glue, because we gotta glue these T-slots in. And so I use a little edge rougher here. Let's see if this is an edge rougher. It just got some rough little spikes on there that make the leather scratchy so that when you glue the two pieces together, they stick. And I'm using contact cement. It's a water-based contact cement that you need to glue both sides of the leather piece. So you can't just add it to one side, you have to add it to both, which you'll see in a second here. And I have a little metal brush here attached to my work space that you can't see right off to the side here, but it allows me to remove all the little buildup that happens on this edge rougher. When you're building a lot of wallets in a daytime, in a span of a day, rather, it's good to have all these little things that help your process go smoother, like these little acrylic jigs, these little things that help your process go faster, like this little metal brush. I just like efficiency. Okay, cool. So we've got that roughed up. We're gonna now use something like this. This is a glue applicator. It's just a water-based contact adhesive that really works well with leather goods. It's formulated specifically for that, and I do sell it in my workshop, in my supply company. It's the Little King Supply Co. water-based pro adhesive, if you are interested. Okay, so we're just gonna start. It's so easy to apply this glue that comes right out of the marker. I love it. Just like that, super simple. I might as well do all of them right now, even though we're only going to put 2 on right now because we have to stitch the line at the bottom there. And one more. Cool. So now I'm just going to use my heat gun with this contact cement. You need to make sure that it's not wet. You need it to be nice and tacky. So right now I'm just adding some heat on the pieces that I'm going to be gluing. Wet contact cement does not work very well, so you need to really have it nice and tacky. Just setting the first pocket down now. You want to make sure it's got a nice bond there so that it sticks well. And then afterwards, obviously, we're going to stitch it down, but you want that initial first contact to be nice and bonded. All right, so now we're going to add a little stitch line where we're going to hold the bottom of the pocket to this interior pocket. So we are now going to go over to the sewing machine. We're just going to stitch a line right here on both pockets. So let's go. This is my Adler 669 Eco. For anyone wanting to know what this is, I use number 92 bonded nylon with a number 20 needle. It's an LR needle, so it gives the appearance of a slanted stitch, which kind of imitates a hand stitch. For all pockets that I'm just stitching like this, I stitch them on the machine because hand stitching really doesn't matter in this area here. It's just holding the pocket down inside, and it saves a ton of time. Beautiful. 1, 2. Okay, so we're just gonna cut off all of these unwanted little strings here. And this is the part that I probably do not like the most, is these little spaghettis everywhere, especially if you've stitched a lot of pockets and they like to, the strings like to get stuck to your hand with all the static. Nice. Got another one here. It's nice and quiet today in the workshop. I purposely left my heater off because it would be super loud if I didn't. So it'll probably get cold here soon. All right, we're gonna use a lighter to finish the ends of these threads. Just kind of melts them down so that they're out of the way. Beautiful. Just tamp it down now with a hammer. Keep those threads nice and flat. And now we've got both of these stitched down into there. Make sure my focus is nailed right. And now we're going to add the other two T-pockets, T-slots to this assembly so that we can have 6 card pockets in total combined with both of these here. So as you see, when you layer them, you're going to have a lot of material stacked on top of each other, and that's why we skive it down. We take off some of that material that doesn't need to be there so that we can layer it nicely, and it removes all that bulkiness from the wallet. So there we go. Also, the gold foil machine is ready to go. So I'm going to just quickly go over there, and I'm just going to stamp this to get this out of the way. We're at 150 degrees Celsius. I'm using the Dream Factory heat press. We're just going to stamp our maker's mark on here. Beautiful. Ah, I love that gold. I love that gold. All right, so this is what we got going on here. That nice, beautiful maker's mark, ready to go. And it's a nice little touch you can add to your leather goods that just make it a little bit more special. So I have to now mark the stitch line for the other pockets. Beauty. Now we're going to go head over to the other machine, sewing machine, and get these things done. I also really like making the shop flow of where my machines are really just flow. An efficient workspace so that everything is where I need it. So my sewing machines are in a place where I want them to be so that the flow of the workshop just helps me build things more efficiently, faster, with hopefully less headaches. And I'm constantly tweaking the flow of this place. Even though it's just me here, I like to tweak things around, not keep them always the same. All right, another 2 T-pockets down. And we are back at it. So again with the spaghetti. Gotta wear some anti-static gloves or something. These little threads love to just cling to my fingers. Maybe in the summertime when it's not so dry, it'll be better, but I doubt it. It's been a really long winter here in Canada. Seems like we've got 7 months of winter, 1 week of spring, and then a really humid summer. But it's all good. I'll take what I can get. Hot weather. Sweet. Get all these threads out of the way. And you guessed it, again with the lighter, just lighting all these ends on fire, which melts the bonded nylon strand in there, keeping this nice and locked in. Cool. Little tappity tap. And now we are ready for the final pockets that will go on right here. So it's going to go like that, and then we've got the interior pocket, which this is attached to, like so. Just like that, kind of. So, all right. Now we are going to add some glue to these pockets here, again with the marker, glue marker. One thing I have to keep reminding myself of is putting away stuff when you're done, because then it makes your workspace a lot more tidy and a lot more enjoyable to hang out in. Cool. What I love about these markers is that the marker tip is 10 millimeters wide. And I leave a 5 millimeter wide gap, or sorry, a 5 millimeter trim allowance that I take off. And that really helps. So this being 10 millimeters, if I've got a 5 millimeter trim allowance, that means I've got 5 more millimeters that this glue marker is gluing into the project. And that's perfect because my stitch line is 4 millimeters. It's a lot of numbers, but with a 5 millimeter allowance and a 4 millimeter stitch line, I have a 1 millimeter into the project still that the stitch is holding. So, don't know if that makes sense, but I'm going to say it anyway. Okay, let's finish gluing up these little pockets here. Beautiful. One of my favorite tools for sure is this glue marker. Just makes life easier. Tools are meant to make your life easier, and this is definitely one of my favorites. If you're looking for tools like this, you can find them on my website. I started a supply company because of the frustration I had for looking for things that I needed within leathercraft, and so I kind of curated a whole bunch of different tools that I personally use in my workflow, and I started a supply company. So you can find that all on littleKingSupplyCo.com. All right, now let's heat these guys up. You don't want to heat up the leather too much because it will change color, and you don't want that. All right, so we're gonna put this bad boy on here. See if we can zoom in a little bit. There we go. Trying to operate cameras, and I got 4 cameras going on here, and each of my 2 cameras have 3 views, so it's like 8 cameras. It's very confusing sometimes, to say the least. I feel like a DJ, but with video. Okay. So now that we've got our 2 pockets forming, looking more and more like a wallet, which is great. There we go. And now we are going to, we're going to add our trim allowance lines on here, because when you glue things, and there we go, switch better. When you glue things and they don't line up perfectly here, you can get problems in sanding. You might be sanding too much and it just won't look good in the end. So I do a 5 millimeter trim allowance, and you'll see what I mean. Where's my tool? Here it is. So this is a wing divider that's set at 5mm for my trim allowance, and you're going to see right now what I'm going to do with this. I'm just going to add a trim allowance of 5mm on all outside edges. I believe this is set to 5mm. Let me quickly check that, because sometimes I mess around. Yep, that's 5mm. Okay, good. Scaring me for a second here. So all the way around. All right, and this also needs 5mm at the top. Beauty. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go over to my other place over here. I'm going to cut these things off. All right. I'm going to cut these things off. And on one of the pockets, I have to cut off one of the trim allowances so that you'll see what I'm talking about. It's easier to explain after I show it. So I'm just going to cut this off. My table sounds like a crying cat every time I push down on it because air is escaping. Sounds like a crying animal. Listen. Oh. Okay. There we go. That's the first batch of the trim allowance that I'm doing. All right, let's go back. Let's go back to the table here and talk about what I just did. So for here, when I'm putting them on this piece here, I needed to cut off this part here first because this is a finished edge. And so I'm going to stitch that so that you can be able to put cards underneath there. So that's why I did there and there. So I cut off that, that's a finished edge, that's a finished edge. And then after we're going to glue these to here, and then we're going to cut off all of the remaining trim allowance from around there. It'll make more sense when we get there, but that's just kind of a foreknowledge of what's going on. Okay, so now what I got to do is I have to add my stitching line. And so I'm going to do that now. It's a 4mm stitch line. I'm just going to draw it out. Boom. There and there. This is going to be a hand-stitched version of this. I currently only offer this in hand-stitched. So I can bring my handy-dandy punch pad here and start punching out some of these stitching holes. Okay, I'm using 4mm pricking irons, and they are in the Japanese style. They're slanted, and they give for a really beautiful stitch. These are, if you're wondering, the Little King Supply Company V2 pricking irons that I've designed myself, got them manufactured, and they're absolutely wonderful tools, if you're wondering. All right, so now we are going to focus in here and get this right. So I want to make sure that I'm over all of the seams. Oh, one of my templates fell down. There we go. And at the top here, I just want to add a circular hole. I think it just looks better. Now we're going to flip over to the other one and do the exact same thing, making sure that each tine or each prong is overlapping a seam from these T-slot wallets. Beautiful. There we go. Now we've got these two beautiful wallets, the interior pockets pricked out. Now we're going to do some hand stitching. So I am going to pull out this nifty little stitching pony here that I've got tucked away. And we're gonna stitch. Stitching takes a while, I'm not gonna lie. It takes a while, and so doing this live is, it'll be the longest process. So we're going to start this off, put this in the stitching pony, lock it down, and now I am going to grab some thread over here, and I'm gonna mark out or measure out 4 times the length, or double if you're doubling up your thread. Beautiful. Okay, let's see if I can zoom in a little bit here. Whoop. Okay. Looks like we're still streaming, everything's fine. Hand stitching is such a beautiful, has such a beautiful look to it. And that's one of the reasons why I got into leathercraft, is for the hand stitching aspect. It's absolutely a beautiful thing. And the act of hand stitching is a very great way just to zone out, forget about all your worries. Or some people just think more and more about their worries, so I don't know. Really depends on the type of person you are. But it's very repetitive, very soothing, because you're just focused one stitch at a time. And you get to see some progress, which is great. I should really count up all the stitches in this wallet and see how many stitches they are. I don't think I've ever done that with anything. I used to hand stitch bags when I didn't have a sewing machine. And yeah, that was a lot of work. So once I got a sewing machine, I stopped hand stitching bags. It was just way too time consuming, and had to stop doing that. Also started getting carpal tunnel in my wrists again. All right, I wonder what my SPM is, stitches per minute. Probably not anything crazy. When you are hand stitching, you have to make sure that every time you do a stitch, it's the exact same procedure, or else your stitches will look non-uniform. And we don't want that. Move this up in the stitching pony for a sec. There we go, we're almost to the end. And that last stitch that I'm gonna do, I made a circular hole. So for me, when I come to the end of a stitch, I don't wanna have a slanted stitch. I wanna have a hole there so that it doesn't look out of place. With a slanted stitch at the end, in my opinion, does not look the greatest. All right, so we are done that part, and now we have to burn the thread. And so I'm just going to do that. It finishes the thread. And there we go. There's our first hand stitched part. I think it looks pretty cool. So now we are on to the second one. And with this wallet, you pretty much have to do everything twice. So let's stitch this guy up. Let me know also if you guys are enjoying this in the comments, if you like this kind of a format. I've never really done this on YouTube before, so I wanted to switch it up a little bit and see how else can I bring value? Sometimes when I do YouTube videos, they can all start to feel like the same thing. And I'm sure after doing enough of these videos, it will feel like the same thing. But it's good to switch it up every now and then, if you know what I mean. All right. It's been 35 minutes so far, and we're only on these pockets. That's okay. We're having a good time though. I'm having a great time talking to myself. I was frustrated the first time hand stitching with slanted pricking irons with the French style. I think I said Japanese before, but it's French style pricking irons. And these aren't what you would call pricking irons. These are more like pricking punches. Because pricking irons, you would just mark where you're going to put your stitches, and then you use an awl to push through and make the hole. So these are more like stitching punches rather than, or pricking punches rather than pricking irons in the pure form of what this is called. So pure, I mean correct. My mind's not thinking today. Okay, so we're almost there. We've got another 6 stitches to go. And then we're going to be doing more stitching. Three more. And I like to finish the stitch on the side that you're not going to see, in this case, on this side. And so I come back 1.5 stitches back. 1.5. Okay. Beautiful. So let me move this stuff out of the way so we can see what we're doing here. So we've got both. I'm going to put this stitching pony back out of the way. So we've got both of these finished. I just have to, which one did I finish? That one's finished. I have to burn the threads on this guy. Perfect. Okay. Now I'm just going to close up these stitches. Every time you hand stitch, it's a good idea to close them up. These holes from the pricking irons are pretty big, and so I'll just take a hammer to the back side of your project, and it makes them nice and closed up the holes, and it flattens down your thread. I think it makes everything look better and tighter. There we go. Beautiful. So now we are going to grab a number 1 beveler. I like using a number 1. Many different cases and use cases, you'll use it for different bevelers for different things. Because this is such a thin wallet, wow, I'm really close. Let's back that out. Because this is a thin wallet, I am going to use a thinner beveler. Thin wallet, I mean thin pieces of leather for this point. There we go. And now to the back side. Swap the pockets around. Beautiful. Now we got these 2 pockets ready to go. But first, we are going to add some toconal to these edges, and then we are going to burnish them so that we get a nice, clean, slick, glass-looking edge, which makes It seals the edge, but it also gives it that nice premium, prestigious look. So let's grab our tokenol again, and we're just going to add this right to the side. Make sure we get a nice amount. And I kind of like pre-burnish it with my hand, just kind of rub it into there so that it kind of seeps into all these little cracks and crannies. And then I will get my edge slicker down on this thing right here. And as you do this, you'll see that it just starts to shine up really nice and brightly and look really nice and good. I'm also going to get a shop rag. Where are they? Here they are. These little shop towels are so useful. I love using them because they just really work well for burnishing. So I'll just grab and just burnish on the side. Make sure I get it. I think that's looking really good. Here's a finished burnish and an unfinished one. If you can see, this is nice and dark and shiny. This is rough and matte. All right, so we're gonna quickly do this guy here as well. Get it all nice and tokenoled up. Again, just start it with my finger here. And then we're going to use this slicker or burnisher to get that nice, where am I here? Here we go. That nice clean look, shiny look. Sweet. Hit it with the shop towel again. Beautiful. Okay. So we've got these two ready to go for the next part. And it's this part here. This is the inner panel that separates the billfold from the cards. So let's get our marking tools ready. And we are going to mark where these are going to lie. I'll line them up. Beautiful, and I'm just going to put a tiny little scratched arrow knowing that this is facing up. And now we're going to add this second part. Make sure we line it up nicely. And a little scratch there, a little scratch there. Now I know where I have to scratch up to with that scratch. Where is it? With the edge rougher. So let's start this process. Let's see if you can see this little, yeah, you can kind of see that little thing in the corner here. It's just a steel brush that I scratched this thing off of. So it takes up all the little bits that build up in here. So there's all these kind of little leather bits. I'll show you in a second here. Let me just scratch a little bit more. It's a really useful little tool. You can also do this with sandpaper or a edge of a knife blade, but as you can see here, it kind of gunks up with all that brown leather. And so I just take it to this little thing here, scratches it all off, just like that. Beautiful. I love it. So let's finish off the rest of this. Okay. So I'm scratching about 10 millimeters wide, because we're going to be cutting off 5 millimeters. So only 5 millimeters will be left. And that's trim allowance. All right, looks like we're ready to start gluing again. So I'm going to take these guys, glue them, put them in this wallet. So where is the glue? I gotta make sure I'm capping all the things that can dry out. Here's the glue again. We're just going to start. I did a video, full video of this build. So if you want to check it out, you can. It's a lot faster. It's not going to be as long as this because I obviously cut and edit it. But this is kind of a cool way to see it happen in real time. People sometimes wonder how long things take to make, and this is a prime example of that. All right, and we're gonna just only glue 3 sides of this, because one side is a pocket, like a pocket opening. And let's do this again over here. Beautiful. So now all we have to do is just hit it with some heat, and then that way we can start gluing this thing together. So I'm just using a heat gun. It's just a Wagner heat gun. You can get them from anywhere, Home Depot, Amazon. And like I said, you don't want to hit it too long with the heat, because it'll change the color of the leather, depending on what leather you're using. Okay, so we're gonna line this thing up again. I made a mark knowing which way's up, so I'm gonna go according to that. We're just gonna start gluing this guy together. Beauty. So we got one side on there, and now the other side. Okay, getting some progress here. So this is what the inside of the wallet looks like now. You can see that it's coming along together nicely. Got a little bit of this thread on here. Beautiful. Okay, now the next thing to do is we have to cut all of this trim allowance off and then sew this part, top part of the wallet to the top. Actually, I'm gonna grab another wallet and I'll show you what I'm talking about. All right, I'm gonna head over here to my wall of wallets. Oh, that was close. Okay, so let's see. Let's see what we got going on here. Okay. So this part here, it's a stitched edge. That's what we're going to be stitching right now. So I have to cut off all that trim allowance, and then we're going to stitch that part to that wallet, and then there's going to be more steps, but that's what we're going to do. So what we're going to do now is we are going to go over. Is this going to follow me? Maybe not. Nope. Okay, that's all good. Okay, so we're going to cut off all this trim allowance, and then Bob's your uncle. That noise gets me every time. Sweet. There goes the trim allowance, and now we've got just what we need to get this thing back started again. Okay. We've got a really nice, here we go. It's got a nice clean shape now, and we have to mark out more stuff. So this is going to be the top stitch line that we need to secure this part into this panel. And we're using a 4mm stitch allowance, so I gotta mark that. So from there to there, we're gonna stitch from here to here. Grab my punching board, and we are going to start making some holes here. And for the last one, like I said, I like to start on a circle hole and finish on a circle hole. Here as well. And here too. Beautiful. All right, now we're going to start stitching that up again. Zoom out a bit. And again, we have to pull out the stitching pony. Get that all settled. Cool. Zoom in a bit. There we go. So let's start from here. There's a lot of stitching in this wallet. Considering it's a hand wallet, considering it's a hand-stitched wallet and one that's a bifold, there's a lot to do in this. Just getting our threads ready here. Ooh, almost dropped that one. Dropping a needle on this floor is, might as well just say goodbye to it. Okay. We're getting there. We're getting there, that's for sure. Okay. Make them the same length and get her done. Tighten this up a bit. Normally when I'm working by myself and I'm not shooting videos, I'll listen to music or a podcast or documentary, and it's definitely not this quiet in here. And I don't think that I can stream music without getting copyright violations. So that's why I'm not streaming any music. I could sing, but I don't think you want to hear that. We're getting there. Honestly, you could probably just double tap the right side of the screen and fast forward a lot of this. But then you'd be missing out what really happens real time. When I first started Leathercraft, I really wanted to be this really exclusive brand that would be only hand stitched and just the best leathers and most, niche market. And I quickly realized that there's a lot of people out there with the same vision that only gonna do hand stitched custom stuff. And for me, when I got deeper into the world of Leathercraft, a lot of perspectives and a lot of things that I thought I would follow, it changed, especially when work started picking up. So a lot of people will have this hand stitched versus machine stitched debate and how they would never use a sewing machine. And I was in that camp that, I'm never going to use a sewing machine. And then I realized just what a blessing a sewing machine is. Obviously, there's no way to compare to a hand stitch in terms of beauty, the aesthetic, and strength, but sewing machines also do a very good job of strength. It's also how you use the machine, how you set it up, what threads you use in that machine, and all that good stuff. Okay, we've got one side done. Now on to the second side. Boop. Another bit of thread here. Another day at the office. I've never really actually timed myself in making one of these. But so far, I've been doing this 58 minutes so far. So that's almost an hour. And maybe it would be faster if I wasn't talking to the camera, but I've been talking and working pretty much without stopping, except for a couple times to explain stuff. But this is pretty much real time. So we'll see by the end of the video how long it's been, and that's how long it takes to make one of these wallets. I'm going to guess it's going to be around an hour and 45. I'm always checking my monitors here to make sure that I'm in focus or we're still streaming. Should get another camera angle of this, but it would just take too much time to reset up all these angles. But it might be worth it, actually, to tell you the truth. Because it's probably pretty boring just watching me do the same thing from far away for a long time. Let's switch up the camera angle. Let's do this then. Hi. We'll go here for a few stitches, there for a few stitches. So I just got these new PTZ cameras by OBSBot Tail 2, and they're just mounted. I got 2 of them mounted in my shop in different locations, and you can control them with a little remote. This little thing here, where is it? This thing. And you can have 3 presets. I talked about this already a little bit before, but you can have 3 presets, and I'll show you what I mean. So here's preset 1. Actually, that's preset 3. This is preset 1. Preset 2. And preset 3. And that's what I'm doing when I'm switching these camera angles. You can also track the body, the human body. So for all those camera nerds out there wanting to know what I'm doing, how I'm doing it, that's how I'm doing it. Just a few more stitches. Swap back to here. Hi. And then we're going to switch to something else here. 2 stitches, 1 and 2. There we go. And sorry, I lied. Then we got a back stitch, 1.5. 1, 2, 1.5. Cut this off. Bada boom, bada bing. Throw this little stitching pony out of the way. It's really convenient that it's just under the desk here. You can just tuck it out of the way. It used to be a little bit farther over. Okay, so now we've got this thing. I'm going to zoom this out a bit. Whoa. Okay, we got this thing pretty much ready to go into the other panel, but I have to tamp down these threads a little bit. And so what I like to do is take it to the edge of my workspace here, turn it upside down, and hit it that way. That way I'm not going to make marks on the side of the leather that I like. Beautiful. So that is the interior so far, and it's only been 1 hour and 3 minutes. Good job. Now we're going to grab this part. This is the shell, the outer shell, and this is the top part that goes on the outer shell. So what we're going to do is we have to glue this to this part here, and we're going to put that there, and then this is going to come on top there. It's going to look like that, and obviously we're going to glue it to the sides here. And you need extra length on both sides so that when you fold the wallet, it folds nicely at this heel part, right? You want to have a little bit of a gap open when you make a bifold. So let's start. What I like to do is grab a little pen and mark where this comes to, right here. And then same on the other side. And I'm going to draw a line to connect them, I think. So that I know where to glue. Because you need glue on both sides of this, on both pieces, not just on the one. So we're going to glue that. And then start putting my tools away here a little bit. Okay. Start gluing this. There's my 2-year-old in the background probably crying for some food. This guy eats every second of the day. I love it. Okay, so here we go. Sweet. Now we just got to hit it with some heat. Now just line it up as best as we can. Just like that. Nice. Okay. Then just cut off that extra little piece. I'm just going to take it over here off camera. There we go. I think we're getting somewhere. Then this is going to go up on here like that. But first, I'm going to sand this bit down and yeah, see how that works. This is going to be loud, so I'm going to actually mute. I'm going to mute my microphone right now. Okay, here we go. Back at it. And I'm going to actually bevel this part right now because it's easier to bevel now than to bevel later. Here we go. Sweet. And on top of that, I think I'm just going to finish that right now with Tokonol. So we're just going to grab some Tokonol, the same stuff in the marker that's in this stuff here. We're just going to dab it on there. We're going to finish this edge so there's less work to do later, especially when it's all stitched into the other panel. It's going to be all bended over and it's just easier now to finish. All right. And again, I'm going to take that over to the burnisher. Beauty. So that's done. What we can do again is just burnish the top and bottom of this by using a shop towel, which works absolutely wonderful. Zoom out a bit here. Oh, that's in, my bad. Beauty. Okay. So now I'm just gonna place this in here. But before I forget, I'm going to do the same burnishing to here on the inside of this wallet. All this leather's sticking to me. Sticking it. Okay, again, some of this tokenol. Apply it with your finger, just give it a little burnish with your finger to start it off. Keep the project clean. And now with the slicker, beauty. Okay. Now we're going to lay it in this part, and I am going to actually mark a stitch line because the top of this needs a 4mm stitch line eventually. So mark that down. 4mm from the edge is where I'm going to stop. And then we're going to come down 4mm on this side and on this side. And so I know that I'm going to need to mark where my stitch is going to come down with my pricking irons. There we go. So now I've marked, might not be able to see this, I've marked where the two stitches are going to lie, or the one stitch is going to lie, and that's going to come right up to the bottom so that it overlaps nicely. Okay, I'm going to mark here at the bottom where I'm going to cut off the excess panel. And then same on this side. This is probably not making any sense, but if you ever make one of these, you'll know what I mean. When I release the pattern, maybe. Okay, so this is how much I have to cut off at the bottom. So I'm going to draw a line like this. And now I'm going to go and cut it off over here. Just makes it easier in a bigger space to see what I'm doing. So I'm going to cut that off. And now we have the correct size panel for this project. Okay. So we're getting somewhere, folks. We're getting somewhere. At 1:14, think I could finish this off in half an hour? Maybe. Just marking where I have to glue to on this inside panel. Then I gotta rough up a couple little spots where I'm gonna glue to. Okay, okay. We're getting there. I keep saying that. Is it true? Who knows? Here we go. Okay, so we're ready to glue that together. But again, before we do that, I want to make sure that we are going to punch these holes, because it's easier to punch now than it is to punch later, because it isn't a flat surface here. So start with those round holes first, and then we're going to use the 4mm pricking irons to go from one side to the other. And I just want to make sure that I'm lining this up correctly, so I'm just kind of pre-measuring where these holes are going to go. Okay, that looks like it measures out pretty good. So I'm going to start. So now that's done, I can glue this thing up. So I'm going to start from this side here. I'm going to stand up and see what we got going on here. Start from this corner, make sure we got a nice solid bond there. Move this around and make sure that we're flush with the outside panel. And now you'll see that there is a 1 centimeter gap here, but that's what we want. With a bifold, you need that so that it's able to close nicely. So from corner to corner. There we go. Then we're going to close it up here on this end. Lining it up as best as we can. Beautiful. Okay. So now I'm just going to push that in tight so that it bonds really well. Now we got a wallet, a nice bifold wallet, and that little gap that we left allows us to close the wallet really nice. We're not done yet, but we're getting there. So now I just got to add these stitch lines again. So we're going to use the 4mm wing divider. We're going to mark our stitches. Come to the corner here. And on this side. There we go. It's looking pretty good. So in the corners again, I like to have a circular hole. Oh, that slipped. Anywhere where I'm going to start or stop a stitch, I like to have a circular hole. It's just a cleaner look. Okay, now the pricking irons. So here we go. We're going to mark this out as best as we can. That's looking pretty good. Nice. It's getting to be a little bit of thicker leather because we have so many different layers. but it's working out well. Apologize if that's really loud in your ears, guys. Man, my stomach is growling like nuts. Coming to the home stretch now. Okay. So we have pricked out all holes for this stitching, and now all we have to do is finish it up. All right, we just have to stitch it up and we're good to go. I wonder if I can adjust this camera. Whoops. Let's go to this angle here so you can see what I'm doing. Just gotta make this thing proper. And let me see if I can adjust this camera to focus a little bit better on the stitching pony. So you get maybe a different angle. Let's see how that works. All right, let's switch to it, see what we got. There we go. Just gotta focus on it. Sorry I'm doing this mid-live, guys. Is that even focused on there? Yep, there we go. All right. So now you can kind of see what I'm doing. Maybe can we do a 2 view? Oh, check that out. All right, well, it's not exactly in the middle, but thanks for bearing with me, guys. Thank you. Okay, so now I have to measure my threads, or thread. So let me do that. I'm going to bring it over here. I've got a special notch in my top showing me how long I have to do this. That looks about right. This is a long piece of thread. All right, so we're back at it now. Gotta rethread my needles, and then it's a long journey for this guy. So if you've stuck around this far, you guys are killing it. You guys are killing it. I think I'm gonna be a little over 1 hour and 45, but if I can stitch this in 20 minutes, that might be doable if I stop talking. All right. Make sure we got both threads the same size. There we go, first stitch done. Our washing machine's going nuts over there. Whole house shakes. The joys of running business from your house. I wonder if I can make this a tad brighter. That might be better. When I started leathercraft, I never really understood the size at which my business would grow, and it was really frustrating to not see any growth for the first 3 years. I mean, that's not true. I saw a little bit of growth here and there, but it was really frustrating not understanding why wasn't I getting enough sales, or I had a lot of engagement from the public through my Instagram, but likes don't necessarily translate into sales. And that was really frustrating for me. I had a lot of people following me, and a lot of people saying how great it was, but it never translated into anything substantial in terms of sales. And so there were many, many times where, man, I wanted to give up. I wanted to just go back. Actually, I didn't want to go back to where I was working. I was working for as an electrician for many years before that. And I didn't want to go back because I knew that's not what I wanted to do. And so it was this challenge constantly in my mind every day. How am I going to support my family, grow a business, and be able to do this full time? And so there were a lot of sleepless nights. And those nights I still get to today. I have sleepless nights just thinking about, man, I still got to grind. I still have to work hard. I don't think as a business owner, we should always ever feel that we've made it. But I'm thankful that over the last 10 years, this year is 10, and I still can't believe that I get to do something like this for a living. I thank God that I get to do this. But it wasn't easy getting here. All that to say, if you're a maker and you're watching this, you're going to have good times, you're going to have bad times. And I think you know that already. Even if you have turned this into a living, you've never really arrived. And I think until the day we're 6 feet under, we're going to be hustling, trying to improve our craft, improve our business, grow it, expand it. But it's always something in the back of my mind that I always have to, hustle for the things in business. The work is never finished, is what I'm trying to say. Don't want to get all philosophical on you guys, but all right, we've done one side. There's another side, and then one long side, and then another 2 little sides. So I'm not really sure how long this is going to take. We still there, guys? I know there's going to be a lot of people skipping this, so it's no big deal. This is why hand-stitched goods cost a lot of money. Stitch by stitch, cut by cut. With a sewing machine, this would literally take 30 seconds. But it wouldn't look as nice. It would work, but there's something about the hand stitch that is too good to leave completely. Coming to the end of this side. Another couple stitches, and then we rotate. I love this stitching pony. It's the Maxita stitching pony. I used to sell it in my website, on my store. But getting a hold of them now is not ideal, especially with the tariffs. Yeah, I can't imagine people, those crazy people who hand stitch entire bags. Unless you're selling those bags for thousands of dollars, I don't know how you can sustain that. That's crazy. But kudos to you. You probably have incredibly buff biceps and pecs, and you've got calluses that are just crazy. I do like, though, when you come to, when your thread gets shorter because you've done so many stitches that you don't have to do the double pull. I'm at that point just now. I'm stretching it a bit, but I'm at that part where I don't have to double pull. Oh, my thread got stuck in the clasp. There we go. Hour and 35. I don't think I'm going to do this in 10 minutes. So final few things to do after this is stitched, like sand the edges, bevel, and burnish. So that's going to take up a few more minutes too, but not nearly as long as it takes to hand stitch this thing. This has been one of our most popular wallets. I've been making these like crazy in the last Christmas time and after Christmas. So I've gotten quite used to the length of time it takes to make, but I've never timed myself. I just put my head down and keep going. All right, we're halfway through the long part on this back panel. We're almost there. Let's say another 10 minutes. We're at 1:37 right now, hour and 37. It's not a race, but it is nice to get a consistent SPM, stitch per minute. I don't even know if that's a thing, but it should be. Should have a leather crafter Olympics. See how fast we can craft something and how good. I really like this thread. This is the Vinimo thread, khaki color, size is number 5. It really shines nicely in the light. It's got a nice sheen. It's an extremely durable thread. It's got a nice nylon core that's bonded to the outer thread. So it's very durable. I really love it. I could never break this. I've never had anybody break it or me break it. High quality Japanese thread. It's just beautiful. I would love to go visit Japan. See what those crafters are doing out there. Also, I'd love to go visit South Korea. I got my friends out there who make tools. I've also got some makers out there that are friends, and it'd be awesome to do a little tour, a little leather tour. Just go see how people on other continents in other countries do things and their procedures and all that craziness. All right, 2 more sides to go. Minute 40, or sorry, an hour 40. Probably finish this up in 5 minutes. I skipped breakfast this morning, and I don't know if you can hear it or not, but my stomach's angry at me. All right, coming to the corner. She'll be coming round the corner when she comes. All right, 2 more stitches. We're at the corner, and then we're on the home stretch. On the home stretch, folks. All right, maybe I shouldn't have picked such a intense hand stitch model to do on video. The beauty of shooting a video of this and editing it is you can do the movie magic and just take out all the stuff. $1:43, hour and 43. You think I can do this in 2 minutes? Come on. Sometimes it's hard to find that stitch hole. Somebody's whistling a tune from Robin Hood, Disney's Robin Hood. That was so out of tune. Okay, we are almost there. Some ASMR vibes, including my stomach. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 more stitches. And we're 30 seconds from 1:45. Oh, think I can do it? No. I don't know why I'm setting this goal for myself. Just under an hour and 45 minutes to get to this part. That is crazy. I thought it was less. I guess time flies when you're having fun. If you have made it this far without skipping, I will send you anything you want. That's pretty nuts. I don't think I would ever personally watch something that far. So kudos to you. Now just a couple back stitches. 1, 2.5. Oh, broke through the thread, but that's okay because it's past the part that I am stitching. And we're done. Oh, guys, you made it. You made it. With this much thread left. Okay. I don't know what you guys feel, but my hands are tired. I don't even know if I was in focus at any of that time. So, yo, crazy. Okay, we're done that part. We're done that part. Okay. So now I gotta fiddle around with this camera to get it back to where it was, so you can watch me struggle if that works for you. So here we go. Grab this screen in front. All right, I think we've got the screen where it needs to be. Let's see, HDMI 2. Yeah. All right, we are back. We are back. Let's see if our two views match up too. They do. Great. Dial this light down back to 27%. Beautiful. So now we just have to hammer all these threads down and sand, and hopefully that will be it. So I'm going to take this to the corner of my table here, and actually I'm going to start here, just hammering it down a little bit. This is just going to close up those open holes from the pricking irons. Oh, I forgot to cinch down those threads. All right, and now I'm just going to take it to the corner of this workbench. And then on this side, there we go. That's looking pretty spiffy. Okay. Beautiful. I think that's working out well. Where am I here with my... Yeah, okay. So now we got to take it over to the sander. But before that, I'm going to open up the pockets. I'm going to open up these pockets and show you how I do that. So I'm just going to take this wooden bone folder and I just kind of stick it into the pockets, and I just unglue or take it to the seams and just open it up that way, so that if there was any glue that was left over or glued too far out, it opens it up so you'll be able to get your card pockets in there or your cards in there. That's something I always do, because the point of making a wallet is to fit your cards in there, and if they can't fit in there, then there is really no point in carrying that wallet. It's also one of the most satisfying parts of the build, because you're almost there. Little taste of the glory. And now inside this pocket, the secret pocket, sweet. Just gonna brush this down a little bit, take all the crazy leather bits. I guess I'm OCD when it comes to that. And now we are just going to sand down. We're going to sand down all of these edges here and make them nice and smooth, bevel, and then burnish. So let's go over to our thing here, our little, again, I'm going to turn off my mic. Come on. And we're back. So right now I am going to start beveling these edges so that we can burnish them. Taking a number 2 beveler and just going along all the sanded areas, taking off that mushroomed edge, making it nice and beveled. All these little leather bits clinging on for dear life that we got to remove. All right, I think that takes care of the inside. Now we got to move to the outside. Okay, so that's the outside. And one other thing that I like to do before I start burnishing it is I like to put a tiny corner on these, tiny radius on this corner here. So I flip it over here and I put a tiny little corner on here. Now I'm going to take that back over to the sanding machine, and then I'm going to hit off those, or take off those rough flat spots on the corners that happens when you use something like this. So these little things right here. And yeah, then we'll see what we're going to do next. So let's do that. Turn off my sound. I did not realize I wasn't recording sound. So basically, again, I'm just gonna say, I am now beveling those mushroom corners that were produced by the sander. I apologize, really unprofessional. All right, we are there. A little bit of toconol left on there. Beautiful. So now we are going to add some toconol to this. Hit it with a little bit of sandpaper. Just grab all those little flakes that are left by the sander. The smoother we have it before we add the toconol, the better it is. So I'm just gonna hit it with some sandpaper. Okay, great. So now I'm going to add this toconol, a good generous amount. You want to make it all cover. You know that it's covering well if it's darkening the sides. Beautiful. Okay, I'm just keep looking at the monitors to see if I'm in focus here. Still learning what's in focus. Okay. And the tops are already done because I did those earlier, this whole thing, but you know what? I'll just hit it with some Tokonol anyway. Then grab that shop towel, take off any excess Tokonol. Again, with the brush, take off any of that leather dust that builds up all over the place when you're making something. And now I'm going to take it over to the burnisher and just give it an initial burnish. Okay, so that burnish kind of just starts things off, and then I'm going to finish it by hand, but I just wanted to make sure I got that first initial burnish in there. And so yeah, we got a nice looking wallet here, almost done. I'm just going to do a couple more things to finish it off. Like I said, I'm going to get this again, and I'm going to just burnish from the top here, make sure those edges aren't lifted up from the burnishing machine. Push them down a little bit, and as I push them down, I'm just adding friction to create a nice burnish from the top to give that edge a little bit of a darkening effect, and just make it look nice, again, all over the interior part. And I'm going to swap over and go to the exterior part right here and give it a little bit of a top burnish as well. Then I'm going to just fold it, break it in a little bit so that it keeps its shape. Like that. Wow, my kid is not having a good time in there. All right, we're going to add a final layer of Tokonol just to give it that last shine. Give it that last once over. Like this. And then burnish one last time with this shop rag just to buff up those edges, make them sing. You want to make it look like it's nice and shiny, and this last burnish really helps with that. So here we go. And there we go. There we have it. This is a wallet that was made right in front of your eyes. No tricks of the camera. And it was fun. 2 hours. We'll call that 2 hours. 2 hours to make this thing. But here it is, folks. This is it. This is the V9 wallet, bifold wallet that I currently offer on my website. This is going out to an amazing customer of mine, and very thankful to be able to make this live in front of you all. And if you want one, go check it out on littlekinggoods.com. And yeah, you can see how this thing is made and all the care and effort that was put into it. And I'm really, really excited to get this off to the customer who bought it. So thank you so much for watching, guys. I appreciate you. Thanks for following along. Thanks for subscribing. And most of all, thank you for the customers that I have who make all this possible. I love you. God loves you. Take care. And hopefully we'll see you very soon in another one of these formats. So take care. I don't know what I'm doing, but peace.